Okay, we're live.
We're live? Okay. Well, there's quite a bit of policies on the agenda, but I don't know that it'll take a lot of time on any of them. So do you just want to go in order, Dr. Cuneo, what I put on the agenda?
Sounds good
Okay.
to me. I had nothing on GB.
Yeah, I mean, GB, the only change there is, and just taking a look at this policy, it looks like in February of 2020, a new policy was adopted in order to address employing retirees, and that's the title of the entire policy. So this very small section that was in GB is no longer necessary. So it doesn't really make sense for it to be here when we have an additional policy, GBAC. So it would be my recommendation that we simply just strike this section from this policy. Is there any concerns or questions or input about that?
No, I always think the less verbiage, the better.
Well, in having it in one place keeps us from it prevents us from inconsistency in the future by changing one and not changing both.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that is that one. Then policy GCB is professional staff contracts and compensation plans. So I've made some recommended revisions to this. Initially looking at this policy as it was related to release from contract and the discussions that we have had regarding that. But then also realize the first portion of that, this first page of this policy does talk about the issuance of contracts and talking about the contracts being issued in writing and that copies and originals being provided. And because the district has moved to electronic contracts, that the first page, the changes indicated in red indicate that the contracts will be issued electronically in the second paragraph. And then at the very bottom of the page, that last sentence, that teachers will be provided electronic copies of modifications as well. Any questions about that? We use the Talent Ed record system in order to do that. And it seems to work very smoothly. And so the plan is to use that moving forward. We did it initially due to COVID, but we'd like to stick with that. And I think it needs to be reflected in the policy.
Sounds good, at least to me.
Okay. And then, of course, when we were looking at the release from contract section, we had talked about cleaning this section up. And so I did make in that first paragraph just the correction of changing the title of Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources to Chief Human Resources Officer. I did add the assessed liquidated damages in that paragraph. And then in 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, I added language to make it a little clearer as far as in health, that it wasn't just any illness, but it prevented them from working in any capacity. That transfer of their spouse from their current employer outside of the geographical area, promotion being a promotion to an administrative position in another school district, and military service, which are covered in GCPB, were not included in GCB. So that's why those numbers 3 and 4 are all in red. And then number 5, other reasons, I also added that promotion or military service that are included in GCPB. Any questions or discussions on this?
Not on that, no.
Okay. So these look okay?
Those look okay.
Okay. I'm going to okay that one too. So we've got 2 now then for the August board meeting for first readings. Okay. And then that brings us to GCPB, which is the resignation of professional staff. So I know at the June board meeting that the board asked for a regulation to be developed to support GCPB in that outlining the contract request for contract release. So we probably need to make reference to GCPBR as the guidelines, which is why that is highlighted in. So everything that's in red on this policy, GCPB, has gone for first reading at the June 22nd meeting. The only thing I did was added this as outlined in GCPBR as far as the reference to what those liquidated damages would be.
I have just a couple questions. This is on
Yeah.
GCPB. On employees with contracts, okay?
Yes.
Second paragraph.
Yes.
Kim, on the one that says employees who will not accept, how about if we say who choose not to accept?
Okay.
And it's just, I was trying to think, it's, I just thought that might.
Or who do not accept as opposed to will not accept?
Yeah, who choose not to accept a future employment contract or an extension.
Okay.
And the other thing I was wondering on this one, and this is really petty, but I was wondering on this one, on allegations of sexual misconduct, the department on the fourth line, Children's Division of the Department of Social Services, is the C on child, the A on abuse, the N on neglect, the R on review, and the B on the board? Should they be capitalized?
I mean, if that's an official board.
Yeah, I thought that and I know that's real petty, but I just wondered if they should be capitalized. Hey, I was on vacation. I had nothing. I was trying to find things to do when kids wound down. So we got a little carried away here.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
Anything else?
Now, I'm not sure if this is the time to bring this up, or when we talk about what is it, GCPR. But I hope that when employees are actually getting ready to sign their contracts, that they have the amounts that we'll be talking about in GCPBR available for them to review, because I don't want it to just be a reference to a policy. I want them to actually maybe even get that GCPBR.
It would be nice if that was in the contract, if it was in a letter given to them when they got it.
The entire document, just so they fully understand what it is that they're signing.
Yes.
And the amounts and all and so forth. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Okay. So based on the notes that I took in the executive session, and then in talking with Dr. Keenan, I put together this draft of a regulation for GCPBR. And so, of course, I have in the chart, I've put an asterisk by those amounts because I know that those need to be finalized here amongst the policy committee. I know that several amounts were talked about. And so as I captured them in my notes there, I did have a couple different amounts in a couple different places. So we can talk about the language and then definitely I would hope we can make some decisions about the amounts that are located in the table.
I had a question, third paragraph down. On board considers serious illness. What if we change that wording to criteria released from contract and could include, because as the board, are those the only criteria we would ever look at? If it is,
Oh.
it would just say include. If it
Mhm.
is, if we're looking at anything else, it would be could include. And that's why I was
I think
just
it would
wondering.
need to be could include, because when we talked about policy GCB, number 5 was other.
Okay, then it would say could include.
Mhm.
I had criteria for release from contract could include
Okay,
instead the board considers.
Or, yeah, legitimate reasons for contract release could include.
Could include.
Mhm. Just give me a second to get that down. Okay,
And just from my own general knowledge, last paragraph on this regulation. It says the district may share with potential employers seeking information about the employee that the employee broke a contract with the district. Can we
Mhm.
do that?
Yes, that's allowed because it's
Okay.
it's encapsulated within the Missouri Teacher Tenure Act.
Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to make sure we could do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so maybe we should reference the Missouri Teacher Tenure Act.
Yes. Yeah,
I think that's a
I
great
just want to
idea.
make sure that we're legal on that.
Yep,
I think that's a fabulous idea.
yeah. Mhm.
I had a question about the dollar amounts.
Okay,
And my question was, and obviously I understand I think I understand the rationale behind the escalating amounts the closer we get to the start of the school year. But can you help me understand, or maybe make it very obvious to me, what is it about the closer that we get to the start of the school year that necessitates the escalation of the amounts, or what are we trying to disincentivize? In other words, what makes it more damaging to us when we get the request on August 1st versus June 1st?
I
Well,
would think
request-
difficulty of hiring an individual.
Yeah, I assumed it's that obvious, but I was just curious if there's other things that I may not be aware of.
no, I think it's just the impetus that the position won't be filled by the first day of school for students, and that whatever teacher is hired to fill that position won't have received the preschool trainings, and, all of the additional, preparation time, which will impact the educational services delivered to students.
And this is replacing 10% of the annual salary, right?
Yes.
I have a question on the dollar amounts, okay? Not the dollar amount. The dollar amounts to me are fine. The first one, non-tenured employee requests for release received on or before June 1st.
Mhm.
These are, in other words, individuals who signed the contract and then want to back out
Correct.
for that. Okay.
Mhm.
That-
And contracts are typically issued April 15th, on or before April 15th, and are due back on or before May 1st.
Okay.
So, we really, if you remember Dr. Cuneo, when the 1920 school year, when I started in this role, there was a request from the board to push back when contracts were issued, because contracts were being issued so early and people were signing them before they really had the opportunity to pursue all other options that they may have. And
This
so
seems fair. Yeah.
we wanted to give them as much time as possible, but also if we're bound by the Missouri Teacher Tenure Act to issue that contract on or before April 15th.
Sounds fair to me.
Mhm. And we have another policy, which I can't remember the letters for, is that we'll have that contract due within, 15 days. So that's where the May 1st comes in.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Another question. So this is our draft, assuming that we approve it, first, second readings and bring it in front of the board, and then approved by the board. How soon would this become a policy? Or
But
would it-
Dr. Esme, this is a regulation,
Oh,
so
okay.
it would not have a first and second reading.
Okay,
It would just be approval of the policy committee, and then signed by Dr. Keenan.
Okay, so we have some employees presumably right now that are within that window in 2021. And some people presumably will have already resigned and paid 10% of their salary, and now other people who are waiting longer might pay a lot less than that. Is that something we would bring in front of the board or discuss about what to do with the folks who, from June 1st
Yes,
to
I
now?
think that would need to be a decision on the board in its entirety.
Okay, so I would like to have that added to the agenda then, assuming that we approve this.
Okay.
Yeah, could we put that then on the agenda if we approve this?
For the closed
On
for
the-
the
on the
executive
same-
session?
Yes, on that executive session.
With information on how many people might be affected and what amounts,
Right.
or so that
Okay.
we, be fair to everybody.
The dollar figures seem fair to me.
Yeah, they're they're yeah.
Do you want
Oh,
to
go ahead.
discuss this, I'm sorry, during the executive meeting on August 10th?
Is that when we're passing this? Yes, if that's when we're passing it,
Well-
yes. No, we would need to do it before we pass it.
Well, the regulation isn't approved by the board. The policy would go for first reading on August 24th.
Okay, let's have the policy approved first, then we can discuss what we want to do with the.
It's a regulation.
So it would be in effect, as soon as in other words, if we give our thumbs up and okay today, it will be in effect starting today. Is that right?
So as Dr. Keenan signs it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, typically we wait for the policy to be adopted before, like, the regulation is typically
Right.
signed by Dr. Keenan when the board policy has been adopted by the board.
And so
So
that's
there-
going for the second reading on the 20th.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's the 20th of
July.
July. Yeah, okay. So in other words, this policy and the resolution may not be applicable to this school year. Did I misunderstand that, or?
Well, Amy, if it's approved in the business meeting on July 20th at the second reading, then
Yes.
the regulation would be considered adopted at that same time?
Yes.
Okay, so Tuesday, but prior to the executive session, this policy could be adopted and regulation approved.
So is it too late to add discussion of I just want the people who were more responsible and broke their contract earlier in the season to be treated fairly, as opposed to folks who may have waited and then may have had a benefit by waiting. And so is it too late to add this discussion about what to do with the folks who've already asked to be released from their contract earlier during this school year?
As an executive session agenda item?
Yeah, is that possible to add this for the July 20th meeting?
Yeah, I can add it this afternoon if you like.
Please.
Okay.
And
How
Amy,
about,
I can provide for you the clean copy of the
numbers?
regulation and the list and amounts of the affected individuals to be attached to the agenda. I can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, if we could have the numbers and the amounts.
Yes, sir. I will get that to Amy as soon as I can. As soon as we're finished, I will get that put together.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. So then we'll have it updated this afternoon for the board to review.
Please.
And I'll put that on for, do you think 10 minutes is enough to discuss with the board, or do you think we need a little bit longer?
Why don't we go 15?
Okay.
We may not need it, but give us at least 15.
Okay.
Director Asner, just so I am grasping this, again, your concern is just about the persons who were responsible. Right?
Yeah, in other words, so some folks may have already requested release from contracts, and if they were in a rush, may have already paid the liquidated damages, which would have been 10% of their salaries. which for many of them, I assume was more than $1,000 or $1,500 or even $2,500. And so now we're changing this, we're making this new resolution, we're changing essentially what is considered liquidated damages. And for now, so people who waited longer are paying less than people who already, and I just feel like everybody should be treated equally in the same school year.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that we're being fair to everybody.
Great, great.
Okay. So we have the policy HPA is our policy that we have on employee walkout strikes and other disruptions. And MSBA sent an update to that policy. They have it categorized as policy GBCBA now instead of HPA. So I have attached their recommendation that they made, and then using their recommended changes, I have updated our policy HPA to reflect those changes.
I had a question on this one.
Okay.
On third paragraph,
Yes.
does the board have the right to revoke previously approved vacation leave, personal leave, or optional leaves for anything else?
I would say that the board has the right to do that anytime that it would negatively impact students.
Okay. Otherwise, if they didn't, I was going to
Yeah.
define that they couldn't do it in these particular, that they reserves right in these particular instances. But if they can do it anytime, I wouldn't use that.
So you'd like to remove it?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like we can only use it in this time, but if we can use
Right.
it any other time, why put it
That's
in
true.
here?
Then it makes it look like in other times that it's outside of the policy.
Right.
Right. Again, this is straight from MSBA language, so good catch.
Other than that, I saw nothing else.
Dr. Asner, anything?
No comments here.
Okay. Okay. We've got the GBCAR that we've gone back and forth with a number of times. And so after making all of the changes after our last policy committee meeting, since this is a regulation, I am simply presenting a clean copy now to make sure there are no final comments, discussion, or concerns. And then after approval, if we're ready for that today, then Amy Joelle can have Dr. Keenan sign off on this regulation.
Sounds good to me. I'm gonna put this one to bed.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll update that revised date. I still had last week when, so I'll change that before I send that on up through the process. Okay, and then the one we've been talking about just as much is BBFAR. So same conflict of interest, but specific to the board. And so I do have highlighted in yellow our most recent changes. Third page, at that bottom paragraph, we had specifically indicated that we were not going to require a board member to submit in writing, you know, in the interest of hiring, that they weren't not going to need to submit anything in writing or that written report. They were simply going to abstain. I think. And then on the next page, page 4, we struck the MSBA language of the amount established by the board and replaced it with We had initially replaced it with $500 and now I've updated that to $100.
That's fine.
And then the next page, page 5, just for consistency's sake within the policy, we did add, there is no additional requirement to submit a letter to the board. Simply abstaining would suffice. If we're okay with that, I think we're to the point where I can clean this up and bring this to the next meeting as a cleaned up regulation.
I agree. Let's get this one done.
Yes. Okay. And then I simply put on the agenda for discussion policy AD. Because it does reference the school district mission, and because the district has adopted a new mission and vision, I just wanted to make sure that it seemed like the appropriate time to discuss the policy related to school district mission. So I don't have any recommended changes. I know Dr. Asner did email that he found a typo in the third paragraph in the third sentence. That basis is spelled incorrectly for its use. So, I mean, that is a typographical error that we can fix, I think outside of first and second readings and all of those types of things. But I did, go ahead, Dr. Cuneo.
I had a question on this. We have spent tons of time on vision and mission.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we put our new mission, our new vision statement here and our new mission statement here? It just seems it just seems that we have spent so much time and we're saying this is our mission. I was just wondering why we wouldn't just use our mission and vision statements and get rid of the first two paragraphs. In other words, saying this has a mission statement, or the special school district of St. Louis County's mission is, and then list our mission statement.
Is there a difference between the mission statement and the policy for the mission? I mean, is there a functional difference here?
Not really. It's just that I thought we spent so much time on developing a mission statement. Why would we not use it? And that's just, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's right or not right.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, just given the timing of the adoption of the mission statement that went into effect in July, I just wanted it to be addressed. And so we can look at making a change and adding the actual mission and vision statements of the district.
And then started on, put those, and then keep everything the same, but get rid of the first two paragraphs and then put the mission and vision statement.
Or we could change the word in those first two paragraphs from, special school district of St. Louis County has two important functions. Special education and technical education. The career technical education function is to supplement the, and then we would put our mission statement. I mean, does that clarify things? Is
that would clarify it, because otherwise we can't put mission if that's not our mission statement.
Yeah.
Right.
Special education, function. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. We can get that mocked up for the next meeting. Okay. We have covered the items on the agenda. Are there any additional policies that anybody on the subcommittee would like us to discuss, or any that you would like to have included on the agenda for the next policy committee? Now, in reviewing the calendar, it appears we have another policy subcommittee in 2 weeks. Okay. So we'll probably have a little bit of a shorter agenda, given that it's a pretty quick turnaround, but we can definitely address all the changes that we made today. Is there anything in addition that anyone would like to see brought forward?
Not today.
No, that's it.
Amy, were we going to talk about the COVID policy that it?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. So our temporary COVID policies were effective through June 30th at the conclusion of the school year. So I think we should probably add those to the July 30th agenda item, our agenda list, and discuss if we're going to make any changes to those policies or if we're going to extend those out another year, another 6 months, another 3 months. I think we all hoped that this would be behind us by June 30th. And I think we had some pretty good signs that it would, but with the variant and some other things going on, it may be, necessary to extend some of those provisions into next school year. Okay. Thanks, Ms. Pendergrass. I had that on the back of the page that I didn't look at.
Gotcha, man. I gotcha. Yeah, and then we'll probably bring, just for information, the possibly the code of conduct that we're going to talk about at DLT, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. There is one policy being, is it a K policy?
Yes.
A K policy that the district leadership team has looked at, so.
Looking at, yes.
Okay,
All righty.
well, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It was good to see everyone.
Thank you, everybody. See you Tuesday.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you need my help, Amy, on any of it? Or you got it?
Probably, I think I've got it. Are you okay? I guess we should get off because it's live streaming.
Yeah, I just text Mark to end it. If you
Okay.
need anything from me, just give me a call. I'll be here all afternoon
Okay.
or
Yep,
shoot me an
me too.
email. Okay.
All right. Thank
thanks,
you,
bye.
ladies.